From the headquarters of Fight Back Media, The Morning Report, with your host, Willie Lawson. Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of FightBackMedia.com, 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 and FightBackMediaTV.com. We trust that you are well today. It is another rainy day here in West Central Florida, and it's going to be. It's going to be until the rain stops, until we're out of our rainy season. And I've already told you that we need the rain because that's how we get it. That's how we get our water. I don't know. Is that science? Science. I wish I had that clip. Science. Anyway, we are thrilled to be here. For those of you who are local, who are listening, you know that our dear friend Eddie Adams Jr. passed away last week. His viewing services, what's commonly referred to as a wake, will be at Aikens Funeral Home on, I think Aikens is on MLK or Lake. I'm sorry, it's on Lake. And at 4 to 8 on Friday, and next Friday. Yeah, and the funeral is Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. I think it's going to also be, the funeral will also be at the funeral home. Interment will be right after the funeral, and the repast will be at Al's Finger Licking over on 7th Avenue. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. But anyway, so that's what's going on there. All right, we have some stories, and I wanted to, approach some of these stories from how I think about them, frankly, because how I think about them sometimes just sort of it tickles me. Frankly, it tickles me. It just tickles me, because the level of hypocrisy is so off the chain. And it would seem easy for almost anybody to go, well, that seems stupid, right? There's so much of that in the media and so much of that on the left. Before we get started, I was listening to, my wife had a podcast or our news report or something on. She's working out there, and they were, some of the comments, people were saying, we may never know what killed the Queen of England. She was 96. 96 knocks off a bunch of people. 90 is a pretty good filter of human life. 96 is a better filter of human life. It just filters humans right out. But it's the idea that they have to keep something going. They have to keep something going, even when it is obvious and apparent what the thing is. Why did the Queen die? She was 96. Her little body was just wearing down after 70 years under that stress. And then we all know she lost her husband, a long-term husband, last year. And that kind of grief causes stress. And it makes it hard if you're 96 years old. So again, if we haven't done it here, everybody here at Fight Back Media sends their condolences out to the royal family, and because they'll see this, never, and the people of Great Britain who watch the program, who listen to the podcast, for your loss of your queen, and good luck with King Charles III. Good luck. But we've got stuff to talk about here, so we're gonna take a little break. We'll be back with more of the program right after these messages. All righty. Again, thank you ever so much for coming to the program. We appreciate it. Let's get started with the fun, the frivolity, and the ridiculousness of what is going on here. Now, there is an opinion on Town Hall written by Doug Hunter. He wrote it this morning, early, like this morning, like 12:01. He published it, and Lindsey Graham is, and it's entitled "Lindsey Graham is an Idiot." Lindsey Graham is an idiot. Lindsey Graham. I think, my wife asked me, "What is wrong with Lindsey Graham?" And I think Lindsey Graham still wants George Bush to be president. Lindsey Graham is somebody who is a Republican who is lost. She is trying desperately to hold on to any sort of relevancy in politics and in the Senate. He is trying desperately to hold on, and to the degree that he will do anything to do that. Now, the overturning of Roe v. Wade says this: the federal government doesn't have any part in that discussion on abortion. The federal government doesn't have any part in that discussion. That is the crux of it all. That's pretty simple. It's a pretty simple argument to make. It's a very simple argument to make. So as the Democrats are on the South Lawn of the White House celebrating the Inflation Reduction Act at the same time where prices are continuing to increase, except for gasoline in some places, but everything else costs more. And inflation is not dipping, is still at 8.3%, still, as opposed to the 1.4% it was in January of 2021, which wasn't that long ago. This Lindsey Graham character is proposing a federal law that bans abortions after 15 weeks. He doesn't get it. The idea is that the federal government doesn't have a voice here. This is up to the states. So what Lindsey Graham is doing is that he is legalizing, what he wants to do is legalize abortions up to 15 weeks. 15 weeks is 4 months. You almost have a fully formed child in 4 months. Lindsey Graham is a moron. Now, what do we do? With the Senate seat, he's not up for it. He's not up this cycle. Listen, if Lindsey Graham is your senator, then you guys have to find some way. You have to develop some candidate somehow, some way to replace him. You understand what I'm saying? You got to find some way to replace this moron, retire him some way, and win that Senate seat. All right. That was just on my mind. Another thing on my mind. You're like, oh, great, another rant. Yes, another rant. Electric vehicles. When I was running for office for county commission here in my district, it came to me that there are two things. There are great ideas. Great ideas are one thing, but can they be implemented is something else. Yeah. I thought that me having a 90-inch flat screen television is a great idea. It's a fantastic idea. As far as an idea, there's nothing, I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything wrong with me having a 90-inch color television, flat screen TV. There's only a couple problems. Can it be done? Can it be implemented? First of all, I don't have a wall in my home big enough to accommodate a 90-inch color television, I don't think. We live in a little house. Where we are now in this, well, you can't see it, but trust me, there's not a wall big enough. That makes sense. for a television that big. Oh, and the cost of that TV. If you pay for the TV, you can't pay for the electricity to run it. So it was a great idea that cannot be implemented. I believe electric cars are a great idea. I believe it's a good idea. And I also believe that eventually we'll have half the cars on the road will be at some point battery operated. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Will be battery operated or battery powered. Maybe that's a better way. Because they're not electric powered, they're battery powered. How about that? I think that that would be a better way. I think hybrids will have a good cut of the battery powered vehicles market. I think that that's a good idea. I like the idea that when your car comes to a stop at a stoplight, the engine cuts off. We have a Chevy Equinox now that has auto stop. The first time that happened, I was like, oh, I broke it. I broke my wife's car. It stalled. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I didn't see that it said auto stop down there on the panel. And then it went, started up again by itself. I was like, what the hell? What kind of hocus pocus witchcraft is this? So anyway, I think it's a good idea that it's if it stops running the gas engine, and then whatever duties a car has to perform is performed by a battery power. I think that that's a good idea. And I think that as you run the car on gasoline, that it charges, there's a generator or alternator that charges the battery. I think that that's a really good idea. I do. I think that's a fantastic idea. Now, can these ideas be implemented? Now, what does the implementation mean? Implementation means this. It means, can it replace what we're doing for the most part now? Can hybrids and battery powered cars replace gas powered vehicles right now? No. No. There are certain niches, and of course, there's always the first adapters who think that everything is great, and their enthusiasm is so fantastic because they're an early adapter or adopter of whatever technology, that this is the answer and you can do this and it's not a problem. Well, it is. We are not ready, and we won't be ready in 2035 either for a full switchover. California, you are jumping the gun. This transition has to be a natural transition that makes sense cost-wise. And that switchover price is the same thing. You know what? If you have a battery-powered sedan and a gasoline-powered sedan, the gasoline-powered sedan or SUV that the family would normally buy because it fits their needs, and you have about a battery-powered sedan that fits that family's needs, and it's in the and it does the same thing. It has the same range. It's in the same price at the same price point. Has all the same amenities. Those vehicles are basically the same. Then and only then, and that's not the case now. It just isn't the case. Can you take the battery powered vehicle, if something happens to it, can you take it to your local Pep Boys and have it repaired? No, you cannot right now. Teslas, Lord of mercy, if they break or they end up in an accident, you're going to be without that car 4 to 5 months. That's not ready for prime time. It's cool. And it's a good idea. But the implementation of that idea across the board, we're not ready for. That's if you ever wondered, if you didn't wonder, there you go. I mentioned this, I think I mentioned this in a TikTok live yesterday. A lot of y'all hate Florida because you want to be Florida. You love my governor. Me too. Governor DeSantis flew 2 planes. How many? Two. How many? 2 planes. 2 planes. We didn't send them on a bus. We didn't crank up a Greyhound bus. And if you've been on a Greyhound bus before, raise your hand. It's like Spirit Airlines on the ground. Right? Full of migrants to, of all places, Martha's Vineyard. What kind of people have homes in Martha's Vineyard? The Obamas have a home in Martha's Vineyard, as far as I know. In the latest move by some governors to relocate the endless group of people to other states, Florida can confirm the 2 planes with illegal immigrants that arrived in Martha's Vineyard today were part of the state's relocation program to transport illegal immigrants to sanctuary destinations. Now, it's so funny that these places in California and in New York consider themselves, we are DC, we're a sanctuary city, which means that they're not going to call ICE on these folks. They're not going to deport any of these illegal immigrants. And as long as you don't have many, or you don't have to, it's easy, super easy to say that. And now we've got Texas and Florida and Arizona saying, "Oh, really? This is not I'm sorry. Y'all came here across, you didn't know. This is not a sanctuary city. You can't stay here because we're gonna have to deport you. But I tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna send you somewhere where they have to take you. Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, capital of freedom. Just right here in this bus, here's some sandwiches. There you go. Oh, I see little Pablo has a boo-boo on his arm. Let's fix that up, put some Bactine on it. There you go, buddy. There you go. Enjoy your trip across America. My governor said, "Yeah, we're gonna take care of little Pablo. We have some food on the plane. It's a couple hours. You'll be landing in beautiful, beautiful Martha's Vineyard. It is the home of the American dream." Yep. New York, California, Massachusetts will better facilitate the care of individuals who they have invited to our country, incentivizing illegal immigrants. Their designation is sanctuary states or sanctuary cities, and support the Biden administration's open border policies. Yep. So we're sending them there. So we are sending them there. And these people are freaking the hell out. You know why? Because finally they're being called on their BS. They're being called on their bluff. Florida's immigration relocation program both targets human smugglers found in Florida and preempts others from entering. She added, Dukes County, where Martha's Vineyard is located, has activated emergency shelters over the unexpected urgent humanitarian situation. See, they were able to say all that stuff until they had to do it. And what Governor DeSantis is saying, hey, let's not just talk about it, let's be about it. Are you a sanctuary city? Yes. Now let's find out. Dukes County Emergency Management Association put out a tweet. Due to an unexpected urgent humanitarian situation, the DCEMA, that's the Dukes County Emergency Management Association, are opening emergency shelters tonight on Martha's Vineyard. If you're willing and able to volunteer in a clinical or non-clinical role, contact at Duke's office they have a number, volunteers needed, humanitarian aid, Dukes County. You want it to be a sanctuary city? You want to have folks who aren't supposed to be here enjoy their time there? It's great. Rick Salzberg tweets, unusual story breaking here in the vineyard. A plane load of migrant people was deposited at the Martha's Vineyard Airport in Dukes County, and other island emergency managers working to aid these folks. There you go. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a disaster declaration and mobilized 75 members of the Illinois National Guard on Wednesday to provide more resources for the 500 migrants who were sent to Chicago from Texas. 500 people. A lot of people. But they mobilized 75 people to handle 500. State of emergency. Oh, hair's on fire. You serious? To one of the largest cities on the planet? Yeah, they talk a big game until they have to do it. I love that Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott and the governor of Arizona call their bluffs. Think about these little border towns in Arizona, these little border towns in Texas, that if 500 people show up, you've increased their population by 10%. 500 people could show up in Chicago and you wouldn't even notice. They're making a big deal about it, but you wouldn't even notice that 500 people show up there every day. Every day. Good stuff. Good stuff, and you should be encouraged by it. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be back with more of the program right after this message. All righty. Again, thank you ever so much for spending some time here with us. This is the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Check out the website. You can watch the video there of the Morning Reports. You can go to our YouTube channel, Fightback Media, Fightback Media Group YouTube channel. You can check us out on Rumble. My friend Paul does a lot on BitChute. I don't do anything on BitChute. BitChute is, their interface is booty. It is. I'm sorry, it is. It is. And I've not had any problem with the interface on Rumble. So there you go. We all like what we like. And he likes it. Paul loves BitChute. He just does. And that's great. That's great. And if you want to look at Paul Swanson, the Swanson Report content on BitChute, please do. Please do. I personally don't have much on BitChute or anything because I think their interface is booty. So I don't use it. But I am on Rumble and on Facebook and YouTube and on our website, fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. So there you go. You can check it out there. You can listen to the Morning Report on all of the major podcast what I was going to say carriers. That's the word. Carriers. That's a tough word. Spotify, iHeart, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Castbox. I think that we're still working on getting the Amazon one to work, so you could hopefully be able to say, Alexa, play the Morning Report from iHeartRadio, or play the Morning Report from Spotify. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get that working soon. Or you can go to Spreaker.com and put in Morning Report, Fightback Media Morning Report, and you ought to be able to find it. So there you are. If you found us by mistake and you want to find us again, that's how you do it. All right, one more thing to talk about today. Weird things are happening, but it's okay, because we kind of need some things out of the ordinary to happen. Here's the reality. It was going to be a tough battle for a Republican to win the New York gubernatorial race this November. Very, very tough, hard. Why? Because we know that New York is bright blue. It's hard blue. It's steel blue, right? But it looks like Representative Lee Zeldin, the party's nominee, running against Governor Kathy Hochul, who thinks Republicans ought to just leave New York and come to Florida, where they belong, is doing what needs to be done for him to have a chance. Because this is, and I think that a lot of Republicans from Florida and Arizona and Texas have to understand it's different being a Republican in a place like California or New York. It's different, or Massachusetts. It's a different deal. Here we walk around in in our underwear, going, "What? Bring it." We don't have to care about stuff. We don't have to care at all. A fantastic position to be in. That's not the case everywhere. I think we need to understand that too. So he's doing what needs to be done for him to have a chance. Late last month, Zeldin announced the endorsements from the New Era Democrats. See, in Texas or in Florida or in Arizona, it wouldn't be such a good thing to be endorsed by Democrats. That would actually be something that quite frankly you try to ignore. You try to you wouldn't put forward. That's for sure. As well as Ruben Diaz Sr., a former Democrat assemblyman, Dov Hikind. On Tuesday, Zeldin announced in a press release he had also been endorsed by New York City Councilman Robert Holden. So he's picking up Democrat endorsements, which means that there's a kink in the armor of Kathy Hochul. Kathy Hochul is governor of New York because the former governor is a sleazebag. We know that. We know that the former governor of New York botched COVID, killed a lot of grandmas, botched it. Although he was being held up by media like he was getting it right, when other governors like my governor were actually getting it right. He was screaming for a million ventilators that the president that he hated provided, made it happen. We need a hospital ship in New York Harbor. Although MSNBC commentators thought that wasn't going to happen, there it was. Two weeks later, there it was. We're not going to have a vaccine, and it takes 2 years to do that. And before that, before Christmas, there it was. Just saying. You guys can make your decisions. You will. So that was the former governor. Oh yeah, and the thing that got him, that he was maybe a little more touchy-feely with the girls than he should have been. That's what got him. Anyway, you would think he was black, because that's how. I'm sorry, that's how they get us. A little touchy-feely with the white girls, apparently. So out he goes, and they have to replace him with a female. So they do. Kathy Hochul is the next person. Her history. No, she's a mouthpiece and a bullhorn for leftist policies. That's all she is. She's a parrot. She parrots the leftist policies. I don't believe for 1 second that she is a good governor for New York or anywhere else, really. So what has to happen is that Zeldin has to build a coalition government in New York to have a shot of winning. He can't go in there like Ron DeSantis. Cannot. He cannot go in there like like Greg Abbott. He cannot. Understood. Got it. And you need to understand that too. And it's starting to happen now. Whether he will win, I don't know. Councilman Holden spoke with Fox News about his endorsement, mentioning that, quote, "We can see it on the street. Anytime you go outside New York City, there seems to be problems," end quote. he specifically mentioned the subways, sharing, quote, "My wife won't ride the subway at all because of the violence that we see and it's gotten out of hand. So all you have to do is look around," end quote. Holden, who described himself as a, quote, "common sense Democrat," gotta use that phrase, end quote, says that I'll endorse Republicans when I think they're better for the job. And certainly Lee Zeldin is better for the job than Kathy Hochul, our current governor, end quote. Holden also criticized, quote, "the ridiculous mandates," end quote, Hochul imposed during the COVID-19 pandemic. It also has led to steep numbers of residents fleeing to other states, namely Florida, in addition to the increased crime that was brought up once again, with Holden mentioning how very few criminals face jail time. Quote, "We're under siege here and we need help. And we need a governor that will, again, stop the revolving door that we have in our courts now." While Colden said he's been told he has, quote, "guts" for endorsing Zeldin, he made it clear that it's not guts, it's the right thing to do. Bringing up once more how Kathy Hochul did nothing really to remedy this ridiculous bail reform that we have here in New York City and New York State. Yeah, I saw a tweet about Chicago, and we'll talk about this tomorrow, of the things that people are not going to do jail time for, that they're not going to get arrested for, starting at the beginning of next year. It is the purge is happening in Chicago. The purge is freaking happening in Chicago at the beginning. I know that's hyperbolic, I know. And the purge is coming to New York if they're not careful. If the people of New York don't do something different and do something different right now. All right, we got to get out of here and make room for somebody else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.